Creating art is inevitable regardless of your immigration status. This little guy is a thief. Every single time I wear my socks or I'm about to put them in the laundry, he plans a heist and wants to steal them right out of my hand. However, if I give him the sock, he is not interested in it. Because I'm watching him grow up and I watch his worldview to be quite binary at times, it helps me break things down and then apply it to my life. What is it about control that if something is given to us, we are not that interested, but if we take it by our choice, it means the world to us? More than a year ago, I started a vlogging channel on YouTube. And then my thoughts started flowing so much from all the little projects that I completed and executed that I also started this podcast channel and now subsequently a Substack to put the scripts out on there. Creating something with zero audience and basically nothing is quite intimidating and really frustrating at times. There's a lot of fallow periods through which you have to push through because you have to kind of give the algorithm what it wants. It's not entirely your own. You are still a slave to a bit of how the algorithm works. And in creating this, creating something of your own, you have so many periods of why am I doing this and who am I doing this for and what is the point of any of this if it just doesn't work out and make me, well, money in the future. And a lot of the times I just don't want to do it anymore, which is dangerous because you don't just one day decide that everything you work for you're going to give it away. You kind of very slowly phase out of something you wanted to do. For example, I have 2 vlogs shot and they are ready to edit and they're kind of half edited, but I haven't posted them out there because I'm like, who cares? I'll get like 10, 30 views maybe. No one cares. Why am I doing this? The outcome is never guaranteed. The only thing that is guaranteed is the work and the process. Like, what does it really take for one to create when nothing is guaranteed but the fact that you are doing it? Making it in a void. There is no feedback loop, no external evidence to support it, just a lot of nothingness, a soup of nothingness, and then your desire or choice to make something out of nothing. What does it really take? Because when nothing is going your way, but as a creative, you still want to do something about it, then you have to believe first in yourself and you have to kind of, in a weird way, say out loud that, hey, you know what? I deserve this. It takes you to have that conversation when you are going to start publishing in a void because no one told you to do this, no one commissioned an essay or a vlog for you. You just had to make it out of nothing. And so, thinking about the concept of control, especially through the way my puppy loves to steal things when he decides he wants to, versus he's not interested in something if I give it to him, has made me really curious about this concept of control. I've said this like a million times on my podcast, I'll say it again. I currently am not allowed to work in the country that I'm living in because I don't have a work permit. The thing is, it's not that I'm dying to work in corporate or anything because that life is not exactly perfect either. But if I am not going to work, if I'm going to be the primary caregiver of my dog, or I just want to stay at home, watch TV all day, or I want to work 12 hours a day, I'd like it to be my choice. There are a few friends of mine who have a green card in this country and they're living a good life. I imagine that if I had a green card or a citizenship or something like that, then I'd maybe start a brand or do something like really crazy with it because now I can, right? And then I asked some of my friends because they weren't exactly doing what I thought I'd do, and they said, yeah, I like knowing that I can do it. I won't necessarily do it. And that's kind of the point. When I have a work permit, I can decide if I want to work, and that's good because then I laid out my life for myself and then I followed it the way I wanted. But if someone else tells me what you can do and what you cannot, then nothing is mine, and it kind of spirals into who you are as a person and your identity becomes blurred. I started a vlog channel and now a podcast because I wanted something to be mine. I got a dog because I didn't just want to foster someone, then the dog isn't mine and he is mine. And right now, I am not his. It's a long investment where it's going to be a one sided relationship for a long time. And one day, he will love me just as much as I love him. It's not today, but probably 2 years from now. So I've been thinking about control. And if someone had given me an audience of 10,000 people, if someone had given me a list of things to do and a list of things to talk about, then their shadow would always be on my work in a way, which is not all bad, but they would always be connected to my work. It wouldn't all be mine. That is the thing about control. After a year of vlogging, I have now found that for creative people, creating content or creating art is inevitable regardless of your immigration status. Like, I could have a work permit tomorrow, but I don't think I can stop vlogging or stop writing because I have been doing this since I was a kid. I couldn't write freely because, strict household, so I had to write in code, but the code key wasn't established, so I myself couldn't read it the next day, which is a good thing. But later on, especially from my master's, and from my bachelor's, I have these diary entries of me trying to document life. No one asked me to do it, but I still did it. I think that's what I am now carrying into this void. Like, no one asked me to do YouTube, but I'm still doing it. This is especially tricky for people who grew up in the Indian society or just a lot of immigrants and especially women, because growing up in the Indian society, there was no concept of confidence, by the way. Like, you are not allowed to say that, hey, I'm good at this, because there is a concept of delusion, there is overconfidence, and then there is arrogance, but there is no confidence, because the moment you feel good about yourself, the moment you do feel confident about something, you are not easy to control or manipulate. A lot of the toxic aunties that I grew up around didn't want me to feel good about myself. And so, in the immigrant Indian Desi girl space, especially, creating something new, I always felt like I was so late because there were so many people who had already started content creation, like back in the 2010s, and we would have never even thought of it because back then I thought people who are living in foreign lands are just meant to create content because they are just confident, like that's just how it is. First, I had to work towards being confident and just accepting that, hey, I can be good at things too. Second, I had to admit or accept that if I'm good at something, then I can build something out of it, whether it was a career or just a body of work that I was proud of. I spent my entire 20s and even in the last remaining months until I turned 30, I've spent this entire decade just trying to feel good about myself so that all these marketing ads about, Botox and all that don't work on me. And it rippled out to a place of me being creative. It requires you to believe that you are worthy of it, that you are worthy of creating and you are worthy of having maybe an audience, or just that you are worthy of being good at something and helping people from it. Just today, I had a conversation with one of my friends, and she's a mom now. She's an amazing mom. And as moms often do in the first few years of being a mom, she said out loud, well, who am I? There is this essay I was writing yesterday on this identity crisis of who exactly am I? So while my identity isn't clear to me yet, I guess I'm someone who is not really waiting for things to be lucky. I'm not waiting for things to fall into place. Like, I am tired of that. I have actually waited for it for a long time because Indian society does teach you to be risk averse and do things according to an external timeline. But I didn't do that. I didn't wait for the perfect time to get a dog. I just knew that I had waited 30 years for it or 29 years for it anyway, and I just got a dog. I think this is a message that a lot of creative people need to hear, that it's kind of never gonna be perfect, and look at how the world is, going to shit. Anyway, every single day was worse things are happening. You think it can't get worse, and then it gets worse. So weird things keep happening in the world, which means there's no one perfect time. But if you are creative and if you have that itch, I want you to know that after a point it just becomes inevitable, as it turns out. Like, you just will create out of your own choice, even with 0 subscribers, and that's fine. But before you do that, before you take that kind of control in your life and feel good, like, oh, you know what, I did something, no one told me to, no one's shadow or opinions or validation is here tied to my work, it's all mine. For you to do that, it does take that difficult conversation of being okay with who you are and admitting that, hey, you know what, I am good at something. And that can take decades long washing away of all the Desi upbringing. But I think that's what this channel is about. There are so many more topics that I want to talk about. And this little guy keeps stealing things every single day and making me laugh. And his binary worldview, again, like I mentioned before, just helps me break things down. And now, creative work isn't all easy and all great, because once you decide something, you realize that the whole world is kind of open for you, this whole creative world, and every single decision is yours, which is quite terrifying and overwhelming. So, the cost of decision making draining you is definitely something that we need to kind of know about so that we can account for it going forward. But I've found that you can't really account for it until you're like a few years in the thing that you're doing. But that's also something that I'm going to talk about quite a lot on this podcast, because this entire life of mine is about exploring these concepts. You can't really do that in one day. There's one little nugget or thought that pops up on one day, and then nothing for 3 days, and then four thoughts on just a random Saturday. And I want to do justice to them by speaking them out loud. I said this before in one of my vlogs. I'm living two lives right now. I'm living my life and my dog's life, and I want to do right by both. But in order for me to live his life, I have to be extra attuned to what he needs. One of the reasons I had him in my lap was, first, he has to learn to calm down and just exist. And second, he's a bit of a timer. Like 10, 12 minutes after I have him in my lap, he will let me know it's time, which kind of forces me to be concise and not, ramble on for half an hour about something that I could say in just 10 minutes. So I think my timer is up and it is his time to sleep. So I'll leave you with these thoughts, and thanks again for watching another episode of Notes from a Desi Girl. Bye. Bye guys. Bye guys. Coco, there.